I never thought about posting here, but I have a story to share. Just promise me you're not going to laugh. There's not a lot I know about this situation, and I can't process anything, so if I have bad English or anything else, I apologise. I'm shaking right now, so I can hardly write. But here's a story to describe to you, and it's not very good. So you know those shows we used to watch on TV, like SpongeBob SquarePants or The Amazing World of Gumball and others? I'm bringing these shows up because they are examples of shows that you and I used to watch. Have you ever found anything weird or creepy about those shows? Admit it, you certainly did, and I did too. But I wasn't as bad as others think. It was just for the comedy. Aside from these shows, let's get to the story I'm about to tell you all. Again, I'm sorry if I don't describe my thoughts or feelings about this. It just fills me with dread. Here goes nothing. In late November, I inherited a home and I was in the process of cleaning out what was left of the estate of my great aunt, who had passed away, when I stumbled upon a very odd DVD of an obscure show. The box was badly damaged, but the disc was in perfect condition. The mystery had piqued my interest, so I loaded it up onto my DVD player to check it out, and there was no problem starting the DVD, except for a black screen which only lasted for 30 seconds. After the screen went to black, the text "Sammy the Cat" slowly rolled over the screen, followed by the year 2019 in a smaller font. And this was dumbfounding because my great aunt passed away in 2020, and we were only recently granted access to her estate. I'm told that many of these DVDs were watched by a child who would babysit when she still lived at home. She was at a nursing home from 2017 until she passed. I was interrupted and the show continues. After the title card, the screen quickly faded into white. The white fades into the shot of a lightly furnished, mostly empty room with a door to the left. Rather quickly, a large cat entered the frame. This cat is prominently white but has black patches and spots, and the screen was very blurry, so it's really hard to make out, but it appeared to be some kind of person in a cat costume. As it turned out, I noticed the large cheeks, googly eyes, and stitches on the front portion of his body. The odd proportions of the costume led me to believe it was homemade. After turning around, the cat proceeded to stare in the direction of the camera for what felt like minutes, until again, the screen went white, which lasted a solid minute. The costumed man is seen eating from a bowl of what appears to be raw meat. The source is unknown, and I'll leave it up to you to determine what it is. After emptying the bowl, the man leaves the frame only to return 30 seconds later, holding the hand of a masked woman. The woman was silent and frozen, and I'd almost assume she was unconscious, if not for her footsteps alongside of him. The man leads her to the bedside and sits her down. He sits down next to her until he eventually starts to shake, and the shakes start to get worse and more aggressive. And the man is now slightly turned away from the woman, and is once again sitting completely still. This must have lasted several minutes, until he reached back and grabbed the woman by the neck. The woman lets out a blood-curdling scream that is so loud that the camera struggled to pick it up. The man covered his ears and began yelling. The man stood up, also pulling her up involuntarily. The woman is dragged by her neck and then dropped. By this point, my heart is racing, and I'm confused and shocked at what I've found. This felt too real and unhinged to be some kind of indie film, but filled with dread. I continued to watch it unfold. Little did I know, however, I soon wished I would have turned it off. After dropping the woman, the man frantically ran through a door to the left side of the main room, perhaps a small closet, because his right leg was still sticking out. When inside, he shuffles around for about 10 to 20 seconds, until he suddenly turns around to reveal a long-barreled shotgun, pointed directly towards the woman. The woman, still blindfolded, is sat on the floor, unsettlingly silent. There is an overwhelming sense of hopelessness that flows through my body as I watch her exist, completely oblivious to what's pointed at her. She isn't allowed to see it coming, and after standing for a moment, the man lowers the gun, casually walks over to the camera, and turns it off. The screen goes dark, and that is the last contents of the DVD. This woman was presumably killed in this scene, because I heard a gunshot during it, and what followed was the blood-curdling scream of a woman, and then the show ended. After the show ended, after a few days of boredom and some hesitation, I decided to report the disc to the local police department. They took it as evidence, but I'd be lying if I said I'd heard anything back. I became concerned as to what happened to the woman, and I would prefer the closure of knowing, rather than the uneasy ignorance that I had been living in for the past few weeks. I've been terrified of something I hoped that wasn't true, but I was afraid it might be. It was eating me alive. So yesterday I decided to reach back into the box where I found the original DVD, because I knew I hadn't looked very thoroughly the first time. After anxiously searching for 30 seconds, a convulsive shock is delivered throughout my entire body, and when I see it, to my dismay, I spotted yet another unlabeled damaged disc container sitting alongside the border of the box. But I couldn't bring myself to touch it, and more or less open it, and ever since then, I've been feeling uneasy. I've thought about disposing of it, so I don't have to deal with it. But I don't want to get rid of something that may potentially be the solution of a case. However, there was more than I thought. Without hesitation, I grabbed the DVD and inserted the damaged disc. I was hoping for more evidence, and these were the events that occurred after the first disc. The disc was broken but started with the cat again, and he was talking to a 5-year-old boy. He asked the boy to follow him to the blender that was in the previous disc. He then picked up the boy and turned him into a smoothie. And then the cat came back into his closet, put the long double-barreled shotgun into the closet, letting out a huge sigh as though he regretted what he had done. And the entire thing was cut, and the DVD ended. I started questioning this show, and the fact that the man didn't even put it in the nearby shop for DVDs, except for my great aunt's house. I turned off the DVD and took it out of my player, and also reported it to the local police department. I shared some of the evidence with them, and I have many questions after doing so. This is up to you to answer. Who was the man in the cat costume? Is the man related to my great aunt? And why was he killing people? I will allow you to figure it out. As for the second DVD, I ended up reporting it to the police as well, and upon visiting the PD, I found out he was already serving time in prison on unrelated charges, and they are now investigating the contents of the second disc. I feared for my life. I had never seen anything unexplainable and weird until now, and to this day, a feeling of dread is always looming over me, and I feel like I did something wrong. When I tell people about this moment, they always give me strange looks, and just keep assuming that I had a bad nightmare, which I didn't. At least from the later events, it was all a nightmare. I'm sorry. This should have been prevented, but due to my curiosity, I wanted to watch the show because I wanted to know what it was. I'm now feeling guilty for what happened, even though I didn't do anything wrong. I was getting tired, so I went to sleep. The show stayed on my mind while I tried to sleep. And as I was trying to go to sleep to forget about what happened today, I started dreaming, and this dream seemed normal at first. I will share you my dream, if you can call it that. To me, I call it a nightmare. I'm sitting in my chair, my living room is decently furnished, and my TV is running in complete static. The static ended after 12 minutes. The old Warner Brothers logo flashed onto the screen, revealing Sammy the cat. I knew how this was going to go, but I don't recall seeing the Warner Brothers logo at the beginning. Was it made by Warner Brothers? Maybe it was a lost show, I don't know. I continued watching. The episode began with the camera pressed against Sammy's face, with that giant fake smile, and what I could make out was that there were finger holes where the eyes were. The thing I never heard from Sammy was his voice.
Hello there. I would like to talk.
His voice was cheerful, deep, and loud. It sounded like he was old. He spoke out to me. I tried moving, but I was having those dreams where you couldn't move. He then said some sentences that made my heart break.
Your great aunt deserved to die.
When that sentence came out of his mouth, it broke my heart, and I held back the urge to cry.
I loved her. She left me. When she left me, I was broke. That's why I tried to make my own show, to get my money back.
The voice was getting closer and closer to the screen. It almost sounded like he was whispering into my ear. I began to get chills as I couldn't hold back the tears. Sammy saw me doing this, and the camera zoomed in on what appeared to be a shotgun in his hand. I eventually stopped tearing up, looking blankly at the shotgun. My eyes were now shaking. Sammy pulled the trigger, the bullet hitting the camera and possibly the cameraman as well, as I heard the blood-curdling scream and saw drops of blood with the camera glitching. The television turned off. I heard an aggressive knock at the door beside me. I had nowhere to go. I accepted my fate. Sammy barged into my room, holding a sledgehammer. The cat ran towards me and bashed me with the sledgehammer. I went to sleep and am now unconscious. I finally awoke from the nightmare, and I'm happy I'm alive with no bruises or anything. I got the idea to call Warner Brothers because I saw their logo on the TV during that nightmare, so it was appropriate to do so. I dialed the company and asked them if they had ever heard of a show called Sammy the Cat, or anything related to it. I was met by an unexpected response. They said yes, and much to my shock, the guy who played Sammy was friends with people behind Warner Brothers, commonly known to the people as the Warners. The show was in the works, but the workers noticed that the man was upset about something, so they decided to end production with Sammy the Cat entirely. Sammy's actor was suffering from schizophrenia, anxiety, and depression. If I'm being honest, I kind of feel bad for him, despite the fact he was a serial killer. The company also told me some of the crew members rumoured that he was responsible for the 4 Warners' deaths. Now keep in mind, if you call the company and ask them about Sammy the Cat, they will try to hide the truth by saying, "No, we don't have a show called that." I have the truth now. We've been on that call for so long, so I hung up, and for the company's sake, don't call the company and ask them about the show for goodness sake. And if you're wondering how I'm doing now, I'm feeling down as a person. I have depression, I have anxiety about things. I do not have schizophrenia, however. Anyways, thank you for reading, and whoever is reading this, I wanted to get my story out there somewhere. I just want you to know, be careful with think before you watch things. If you want to watch these things, do it at your own risk. And that, my dogs, was Sammy the Cat, written by JosephTheSnail. My final thoughts on the story? I hate to say this, but I don't like it. To me, this show feels like a worse version of 1999 mixed in with a kind of little bit of FNAF, I guess, with the whole dressing up as a weird animal character, but generally this story feels like a words-written version of 1999 with Mr. Bear and everything. But let's go into some issues I have with this story. The first and most egregious one is 100% the grammar. I know Joseph said this is because he was bad with English or something, which yes is fine, but it's bad to the point that I had to make several edits to the actual video, constantly stuttering over words and sentences that weren't structured very well. It also felt like a lot of the things said in the story were just seemingly repeated, and overall it definitely feels like the whole story could have been streamlined. So yeah, that's my first gripe, is that it was kind of hard to read at certain points with the grammar and everything. The second point is, this story just suffers from being too bland. I mean, like, guys, I'll be honest, how many times have we seen a lost, missing / obscure show from whatever time period, from Nickelodeon, from Cartoon Network, from Warner Brothers? It features something in the show like an animal, an anthropomorphic character murdering somebody, with gross or disgusting or bloody imagery. How many times have we heard this by now? Maybe it's just me, but I'm just getting a bit too sick of seeing this over and over. That's also another reason why I don't like the story. For me, it just feels a little bit too much like every other creepypasta that does similar things to it. Now, I will agree the art by NekoJaff, the drawing of Sammy the cat in the thumbnail, I definitely have to give it some props because it is very unnerving and I like how it was drawn. Kind of reminds me a little bit of the Shadow Reader's drawings a little. Another issue I have is towards the end, where they say stuff like, "What do you guys think? Do you know who killed my grandmother? Do you know who this person is?" Like, what is the point of including it? Like, how are the people who are reading the story able to know who the person's family is? Or who this random serial killer is? I just don't see the point of adding it into the story. I just feel like it's completely unnecessary. What you could have done instead was say like, if you have any idea who this might be, please contact me, or something like that. Now that would have made a bit more sense in terms of the story. I feel like that is genuinely what somebody would put if they're trying to get answers on a story they've told. Oh, and let's not forget the whole thing with Sammy the cat speaking to the person. I don't know, it's just kind of cliche, like weird voice, then all of a sudden breaking the fourth wall saying your great aunt deserved to die, you know, things like that. I'm just kind of sick of those whole things where it tries to sound scary, creepy and edgy, but we're just getting tired of it now, I think. That's how I feel about it. Maybe it's just a nitpick, but it's something I personally didn't like in the story. Now granted, there are definitely some positives. Sammy the cat, at least to my knowledge at this minute, is a unique character. I think he's unique. I love the art associated with the creepypasta. I think it's very nice. I can appreciate the fact that the story did not go so far into the gore. I feel like it was kind of on the easier side in terms of detail, which, again, people, is not necessarily a bad thing. I would rather you not go into gore at all than go into gore super hardcore. So JosephTheSnail, I'm going to give you a bit of props there for not making the gore so overly descriptive to the point that it's cringy. That's a positive I can give you. But just in general, in a TLDR, I find Sammy the cat to be just kind of a bland to the book story. It's not horrible, it's not amazing, it just kind of falls into that little middle tier of creepypastas. And fittingly to go along with this, I'm going to give Sammy the cat a 5 out of 10. This story is relatively harmless, but it just feels too generic. I feel like they should have done a little bit more with the actual show of Sammy the cat. Maybe show like a full episode of like a kid's show or something, and then it slowly progresses into something more scary. It just feels like the TV show part of this creepypasta didn't really stick, to be honest. And that's a shame because I feel like it could have had some potential. Maybe it could be like a cool, better version of how Happy Appy did it. But unfortunately, that's not what happened here. So overall, JosephTheSnail, it was an alright story, but I truly think you could do better. I hope you all enjoyed this narration of Sammy the cat. If you did, be sure to like, comment and subscribe, hit the bell so you're all notified of my latest videos, and of course, if you want to send in your creepypastas, join my creepypasta Discord server, and submit it into the Creepypasta Submissions channel, and I might pick yours. Anyways, I will see you all in the next video. Take care, my dorks. If you enjoyed the video, and you would like to continue the scares, be sure to click one of the videos on the left or right, and click the channel logo to subscribe, and check the description if you want to join the Discord. Thank you for watching, and stay scared.